The wrench slipped from my fingers and clattered against the concrete floor of my garage. Not because I was startled, I'd been expecting this moment for weeks. The text message glowing on my phone screen simply confirmed what I already suspected. Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. C. Cambria had sent the same message 3 times this week. My wife of 6 years, the ambitious corporate finance manager who once claimed she loved my grease-stained hands and blue-collar authenticity, was lying to me. I wiped my hands on the shop rag and leaned against the 1969 Mustang I'd been restoring. The irony wasn't lost on me. I spent my days fixing broken things while my marriage fell apart. Jace Arnell, 34 years old, owner of Arnell Auto Restoration in Gatefield's Industrial District, professional fool. Another late night at the office? Brett Martinez, my longtime mechanic and friend, emerged from under the hood of a Camaro. His weathered face showed the skepticism I felt but hadn't voiced. So she says. I pocketed the phone and picked up the wrench. Funny how these late nights started right after Zane Merrinor moved back to town. Brett whistled low. Her high school boyfriend? The tech guy with the fancy loft downtown? The very same. I twisted a bolt with more force than necessary. Saw them at Murphy's bar last week. Just 2 old friends catching up, according to Cambria. The truth was messier. Zane had been sniffing around my wife since returning to Gatefield 6 months ago. At parties, he'd monopolize her attention with stories about his startup success and urban lifestyle. Meanwhile, I'd stand in the corner nursing a beer, watching my wife's eyes light up for someone else. What are you going to do about it? Brett asked. I set down the wrench and really looked at him. Brett had been with me since I inherited this garage from my uncle 5 years ago. He knew me better than anyone, including my wife. He could see the wheels turning in my head. Nothing rash, I said, but I'm not going to sit here like an idiot while they make a fool of me. That evening, I sat in my kitchen picking at a reheated pizza slice. Our suburban home felt hollow without Cambria's presence, though I wondered how long she'd actually been absent, even when physically here. The mortgage papers on the counter bore both our names, but I'd made most of the payments from the garage's earnings. My phone buzzed. Another text from Cambria. Meeting running really late. Might crash at Shelley's place. Shelley worked in Cambria's office. I'd met her twice. A gossipy woman who treated me like an amusing pet, the kind of person who'd cover for a friend's affair without blinking. I opened the Find My Phone app. Cambria's location showed downtown, but not at her office building. The little blue dot pulsed from the address of Zane's luxury loft. For a moment, I just stared at the screen. 6 years of marriage, and it came down to a glowing dot on a map. I should have felt anger or heartbreak. Instead, I felt something colder and more calculating. I grabbed my jacket and keys. Time to see exactly what kind of meeting my wife was attending. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The Pinnacle Lofts towered over Gatefield's revitalized downtown district, all glass and steel pretension. Zane's Tesla sat in the parking garage next to Cambria's BMW, the car I'd co-signed for when she started her new job. I parked across the street and settled in to wait. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 7th floor, I could see movement. 2 silhouettes stood close together in what appeared to be an intimate conversation. I didn't need binoculars to know who they were. My phone rang. Cambria's name appeared on the screen. Hey, honey? Her voice carried false brightness. Just wanted to check in. This client presentation is taking forever. That's rough, I said, watching her shadow move closer to Zane's. What's the client's name again? A pause. Meridian Financial, big account, really important for my career. I'm sure it is. I could have called her out right then, but something held me back. Maybe it was the mechanic in me. You don't start tearing apart an engine until you understand exactly what's wrong with it. I should go. They're calling me back into the conference room. Sure thing. Love you. Love you too. The line went quiet, and I watched my wife's silhouette disappear deeper into Zane's apartment. I drove home with my mind racing. Cambria thought she was clever, but she'd always underestimated me. To her family and social circle, I was just the grease monkey she'd married during her rebellious phase. They expected her to outgrow me eventually. Maybe it was time to show them exactly how wrong they were. Back in my garage, I fired up my laptop. Most people didn't realize that running an auto shop in the digital age required serious technical skills. I managed inventory systems, diagnostic computers, and customer databases. I'd also picked up a few unconventional skills over the years. Zane's social media presence painted him as a successful entrepreneur, but I knew how to look deeper. His tech startup had been hemorrhaging money for months. His divorce from his ex-wife, Tess, had been finalized just before he moved back to Gatefield. And according to public records, he was 3 months behind on his loft payments. My wife was cheating on me with a fraud who was going broke. The irony was almost funny. I scrolled through Tess Ardellin's social media profiles. Zane's ex-wife was an attractive brunette with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. Her recent posts dripped with barely contained rage about her lying, cheating ex-husband. An idea began forming. If Cambria wanted to play games, I'd show her how the game was really played. Tess Ardellin agreed to meet me at Murphy's bar the next evening. She arrived 15 minutes late, scanning the room like she expected an ambush. When she spotted me in the corner booth, her expression shifted from suspicion to curiosity. "You're Jace," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Cambria's husband. And you're Tess, Zane's ex-wife." I signaled the waitress for 2 beers. "Thanks for coming. Your message was intriguing. Something about mutual interests?" She studied my face with intelligent green eyes. "I assume this is about our respective spouses making fools of us." "Former spouse in your case, but yes." The beers arrived and I took a long sip. "How much do you know about what Zane's been up to since your divorce?" "Enough." Her voice carried years of accumulated resentment. "He's been playing the wounded bachelor while conveniently forgetting to mention why our marriage ended." Which was, he cheated on me with his business partner's wife, cost him the partnership, and me my trust. She leaned forward. "But I'm guessing you didn't ask me here to discuss my marital problems." I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos I'd taken the previous night. Zane and Cambria embracing on his balcony, their body language leaving no doubt about their relationship. Tess's jaw tightened. "How long has this been going on?" "Weeks, maybe months. They think they're being clever about it." I put the phone away. "Cambria's been telling me she's working late while she's actually at his place." "And you want revenge?" It wasn't a question. "I want justice. There's a difference." I met her gaze. "Cambria's been planning to leave me for a while now. She's just waiting for the right moment to maximize her advantage. Meanwhile, Zane gets to play the successful entrepreneur while his business collapses." Tess smiled for the first time since sitting down. "What did you have in mind?" "Something public. Something that exposes them both for what they really are." I leaned back in the booth. "But I need someone on the inside. Someone who knows Zane's weaknesses." "And what do I get out of this partnership?" "The satisfaction of watching your ex-husband face consequences for once in his privileged life." She extended her hand across the table. "I'm in." We spent the next hour planning. Tess knew Zane's schedule, his habits, his insecurities. She also knew about his financial problems and the lies he'd been telling potential investors. Combined with my technical skills and knowledge of Cambria's routine, we had everything we needed. "There's something else," Tess said as we prepared to leave. "Zane's been bragging to mutual friends about his new relationship. He thinks he's won some kind of prize by stealing another man's wife." Let him think that, I said. Pride comes before the fall. The Gatefield Cinema occupied a restored Art Deco building downtown, complete with neon marquee and vintage charm. It was also where Cambria had told me she was taking her sister to see the new romantic comedy on Friday night. Except Cambria's sister was in Phoenix visiting their parents, and my wife had purchased 2 tickets for the VIP screening room using our joint credit card. I'd done maintenance work on the cinema's fleet vehicles for 3 years. The manager, Dave Kowalski, owed me several favors and didn't ask questions when I requested access to their security system to check for electrical issues with the cameras. "Just don't break anything," Dave said, handing me the access codes. "And if anyone asks, you were never here." The cinema's security setup was more sophisticated than most people realized. High-definition cameras covered every public area, and the VIP rooms had discrete monitoring for safety purposes. More importantly, the system connected to the building's digital displays and PA system. I spent Thursday evening familiarizing myself with the controls. By Friday, I could access any camera feed and override the display screens throughout the building. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Tess would confront Zane and Cambria in the VIP room during the movie. I'd capture everything on the security cameras while simultaneously broadcasting it to the lobby displays. The Friday night crowd would get dinner and a show. "Are you sure about this?" Brett asked when I explained the plan. "Once you pull this trigger, there's no going back." "There's already no going back," I said. "Cambria made that choice when she decided to cheat. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth." Friday evening arrived with unseasonable warmth. I positioned myself in the cinema's security office while Tess took her place in the lobby. Through the cameras, I watched Zane and Cambria arrive hand in hand, both dressed like they were attending a premiere instead of sneaking around behind my back. They looked happy, relaxed. Cambria laughed at something Zane whispered in her ear, and I felt that cold calculation settle deeper into my chest. My phone buzzed with a text from Cambria. "Movie starting soon. Having such a good time with my sister." I typed back, "Enjoy the show." They settled into the plush seats of VIP Room 3, Zane's arm draped possessively around my wife's shoulders. The romantic comedy began playing on the screen, but they paid little attention to it. I activated the security camera and began recording. 20 minutes into the movie, I sent Tess the signal. Through the camera feed, I watched her enter VIP Room 3 with the confidence of someone who belonged there. "Hello, Zane," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the room's audio system. Both Zane and Cambria jumped like they'd been shocked. Cambria's face went pale in the screen's glow, while Zane struggled to find words. "Tess, what are you doing here?" "Watching my ex-husband romance another man's wife." She moved closer, ignoring Cambria's presence entirely. "Did you tell her about our marriage, Zane? About why it really ended?" "This isn't the place for this conversation," Zane said, standing up. "No, I think it's perfect." Tess smiled coldly. "Cambria, isn't it? I'm Tess Ardellin, Zane's ex-wife, the one he cheated on repeatedly before I threw him out." Cambria found her voice. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but I'm doing what someone should have done months ago, warning you about the man you're throwing your marriage away for." I chose that moment to send Cambria a text. "Turn around. Your husband and his new friend can see everything." Cambria's phone lit up in the darkened room. She read the message and spun around, scanning the shadows. The security camera was invisible to her, but her paranoia was obvious. "Jace knows," she whispered to Zane. "Knows what?" Tess asked innocently. "That you're here with a married woman, Zane? Oh wait, you're not married anymore, because I divorced you for being a lying, cheating fraud." Zane grabbed Cambria's hand. "We're leaving." "Excellent idea," I said, activating the PA system. My voice echoed through VIP Room 3 and every speaker in the building. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a technical difficulty in one of our screening rooms. Please remain calm while we resolve the situation." On cue, I switched the lobby displays from movie trailers to the live feed from VIP Room 3. The Friday night crowd suddenly had a front row seat to the drama unfolding upstairs. Cambria's face appeared on screens throughout the building as she stood frozen in shock. Zane tried to shield her from the camera, but there was nowhere to hide. "This is Cambria Arnell," I continued over the PA system, "enjoying a romantic evening with Zane Merrinor while her husband thinks she's out with her sister. And this is Tess Ardellin, Zane's ex-wife, who has some interesting stories to share about her former husband's business practices." The lobby crowd was transfixed. Phones came out as people began recording the screens. In the age of social media, this moment would be preserved forever. Tess looked directly into the camera. "Zane's been telling people his startup is worth millions, but the truth is he's 3 months behind on rent, and his investors are pulling out. He's also been lying about why our marriage ended." "Turn it off!" Cambria screamed, but her voice only made the situation worse. "I can't turn off the truth," I replied through the speakers, "but I can share more of it." Zane finally found his courage and lunged toward where he thought the camera might be hidden. "You're insane, Jace. This is harassment." "This is transparency," I corrected, switching to a different camera angle as he searched. "Something you and my wife should try sometime." Through the security feed, I watched chaos erupt in the lobby. The cinema manager was trying to restore normal operations while customers crowded around the displays. Some were laughing, others looked uncomfortable, but everyone was watching. Cambria pulled out her phone and called me. I let it ring twice before answering, my voice still broadcasting through the PA system. "Hi, honey. How's the movie with your sister?" "Stop this right now," she hissed. "You're embarrassing yourself." "I'm embarrassing myself?" I laughed, and the sound echoed through the building. "Cambria, you're on every screen in this theater holding hands with your boyfriend while lying to your husband. I think you've got the embarrassment market cornered." Tess stepped closer to Cambria. "Did he tell you about the business partner's wife? Or the secretary at his last company? You're not special, sweetheart. You're just next in line." "That's not true," Zane protested, but his voice lacked conviction. "Show them the photos, Jace," Tess said, looking up at the camera. I'd prepared for this moment. The lobby screen switched to a slideshow of images I'd compiled over the past week. Zane and Cambria at restaurants, walking through downtown, embracing outside his loft. Each photo was time-stamped and dated, creating an undeniable timeline of their affair. "These were taken over the past 2 weeks," I announced, while Cambria told me she was working late or visiting family. Funny how her work schedule coincided so perfectly with Zane's social calendar. The final image showed them kissing on Zane's balcony, Cambria's wedding ring clearly visible on her left hand. "I want a divorce," I said simply. "And I want everyone to know exactly why." Cambria was crying now, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "You can't do this to me. My career, my reputation. Should have thought of that before you decided to cheat on your husband," Tess said without sympathy. Zane finally located the correct camera and tried to cover it with his jacket, but I'd already switched to backup angles. "This is illegal. I'll sue you for invasion of privacy." "In a public theater, with cameras clearly posted for security purposes?" I chuckled. "Good luck with that, counselor. Oh wait, you're not a lawyer. You're just a failed entrepreneur who seduces married women." The crowd in the lobby was growing larger as word spread. I could see people streaming in from the street, drawn by the commotion. Social media was probably exploding with videos and commentary. "Please," Cambria said, her voice breaking. "Turn off the cameras. We'll leave quietly." "You'll leave," I agreed. "But quietly? That ship has sailed." Security guards finally arrived to escort them out, but the damage was done. As Zane and Cambria were led through the lobby, the crowd parted like they were contagious. Phones continued recording their walk of shame. I switched off the PA system and sat back in the security office chair. Phase 1 was complete, but this was just the beginning. By Saturday morning, the cinema incident had gone viral. Someone had uploaded the entire confrontation to social media, and it was spreading across platforms faster than I could track. CinemaGate was trending locally, with thousands of views and hundreds of comments. Most of the reactions were brutal. Cambria's professional reputation was in ruins, and Zane was being roasted as a predatory loser who targeted married women. A few people criticized my methods, but they were vastly outnumbered by those who applauded the public exposure. My phone had been buzzing all night with calls and texts. I ignored most of them, but Brett's message made me smile. "Dude, you're famous, and possibly insane. Call me." Cambria had sent 47 text messages, ranging from apologetic to furious to desperate. I read them all but didn't respond. Let her wonder what came next. Around noon, she showed up at the garage. I was working on the Mustang when she stormed through the bay doors, her eyes red from crying, but her jaw set with determination. "We need to talk," she said. "No, we don't." I didn't look up from the engine. "We needed to talk months ago before you started cheating. Now we need lawyers." "I made a mistake, okay? It didn't mean anything." 47 text messages suggest otherwise. I finally looked at her. Also, the photos, the lies, and the public humiliation. Those suggest it meant quite a lot. She tried a different approach. "I know you're hurt, but destroying my career won't fix our marriage." Our marriage was already destroyed. I just made sure everyone knew it. I wiped my hands on a rag. "Besides, I didn't destroy your career. You did that when you decided to cheat with a client. Zane isn't a client." "No, but your boss doesn't know that. Funny how corporate ethics policies work." Her face went pale. "You didn't." "I sent HR a very detailed email about your relationship with a potential business partner, complete with photos and timeline." I shrugged. "They'll probably want to discuss it with you on Monday." "You bastard!" She lunged toward me, but Brett appeared from behind the Camaro. "Problem here?" he asked mildly, but his presence was enough to stop Cambria in her tracks. "Just my wife leaving," I said. "Permanently." Cambria's phone rang. She glanced at it, and her face crumpled. "It's my boss." "Better answer it. Unemployment benefits don't file themselves." She answered the call and walked outside, her voice rising as she tried to explain the situation. Through the bay windows, I could see her pacing frantically. "You really think this is over?" Brett asked. "Not even close," I said. "Cambria's pride won't let her go quietly, and Zane's too arrogant to accept defeat. They'll try to hit back. And when they do?" I smiled and picked up my wrench. "I'll be ready." Cambria's retaliation came Tuesday evening in the form of a Facebook post that tagged half of Gatefield. "I want everyone to know that my husband, Jace Arnell, is an abusive, controlling man who invaded my privacy and publicly humiliated me for having dinner with an old friend. He's been monitoring my phone, following me, and threatening my career. I'm scared for my safety and asking for prayers during this difficult time." The post included a photo of her tear-stained face and a longer narrative painting me as an unstable stalker who'd snapped when she tried to assert her independence. She claimed the cinema incident was part of a pattern of escalating abuse. Within hours, the post had been shared dozens of times. Several of her friends and co-workers added supportive comments, and a few people who'd initially criticized her began reconsidering their positions. My phone started ringing with calls from concerned customers and friends. Mrs. Voss, our elderly neighbor who ran 3 different community Facebook groups, called to warn me that people were organizing against me. "She's painting quite a picture, dear," Mrs. Voss said. "But I've lived next door to you for 5 years. You're many things, but abusive isn't one of them." "Thanks, Mrs. Voss. I appreciate the support. What are you going to do about these accusations?" "The truth has a way of coming out," I said. "Sometimes it just needs help." That evening, I uploaded my own video response, not to Facebook, where Cambria controlled the narrative, but to YouTube and TikTok, where it could reach a broader audience. I sat in my garage, surrounded by the cars and tools that represented my honest work, and spoke directly to the camera. My name is Jace Arnell, and my wife is lying about me. 3 days ago, I exposed her affair with Zane Merrinor at the Gatefield Cinema. Now she's claiming I'm abusive because I refused to stay quiet while she cheated. I held up my phone and scrolled through her text messages from the affair period. These are her actual messages to me over the past month. Notice how none of them mention feeling afraid or controlled. They're just lies to cover her cheating. Then I showed the photos again, with timestamps and locations. This is what abuse looks like to Cambria Arnell, her husband refusing to be a fool while she conducts a public affair. The video went viral faster than her Facebook post. The comments section filled with people sharing their own stories of cheating spouses and false accusations. By Thursday, it had over 100,000 views. But Cambria wasn't finished. Friday morning, I arrived at the garage to find my bay doors spray-painted with the word "abuser" in red letters. Several customers had canceled appointments, and someone had left a bag of dog waste on my doorstep. "She's escalating," Brett observed as we scrubbed the paint off the doors. "Good," I said. Desperate people make mistakes. The mistake came in the form of Shelley Morrison, Cambria's friend and co-worker. Shelley had been one of the most vocal supporters of Cambria's abuse narrative, sharing her post and adding her own commentary about controlling men and brave women speaking their truth. What Shelley didn't know was that I'd been monitoring social media mentions of my name and had noticed something interesting. Her posts defending Cambria were being liked and commented on by Zane Merrinor. More interesting was the pattern of check-ins and location tags. While Cambria was staying at her sister's apartment across town, Shelley had been spending time at downtown bars and restaurants, the same places where Zane's credit card was being used, according to the financial records Tess had provided. I called Tess and shared my suspicions. "You think Zane's cheating on Cambria with her friend?" Tess laughed bitterly. "That would be perfect. He can't help himself around married women, and Shelley's definitely married. Can you confirm it? Give me a few days. I still have friends who keep track of Zane's movements." While Tess worked her connections, I focused on documenting Shelley's activities. Her social media presence was extensive and poorly secured. She posted constantly about her locations, her meals, her thoughts, and her relationships. What emerged was a clear pattern. Shelley was having her own affair, using Cambria's situation as cover. While publicly supporting her friend's abuse claims, she was privately meeting with the same man who'd destroyed Cambria's marriage. The irony was beautiful. Wednesday evening, Tess called with confirmation. "I have photos of Zane and Shelley together at the Riverside Hotel. Very intimate, very damning. When do you want to use them?" "Not yet," I said. "Let Cambria dig herself deeper first." The opportunity came Friday night. Cambria had organized a support rally at Murphy's Bar, inviting friends and co-workers to show solidarity against domestic abuse. The event was publicized on Facebook as a way to stand with survivors and against their abusers. I wasn't invited, obviously, but Mrs. Voss attended as my unofficial spy. She called me halfway through the evening with updates. "Your wife is giving quite a speech about emotional manipulation and financial control," she reported. "Very dramatic. Shelley's been backing her up with stories about your threatening behavior." "How's the crowd responding?" "Mixed reactions. Some people are buying it, others look skeptical, but Cambria's really selling the victim narrative." "Perfect. Tell me when she's finished." An hour later, Mrs. Voss called back. "She's wrapping up now. Big finish about finding the courage to leave and start over." "Thanks. Enjoy the show." I posted the photos of Zane and Shelley to every social media platform simultaneously, tagging everyone who'd attended the rally. The images were time-stamped from 2 hours earlier. While Shelley was supposed to be supporting Cambria at Murphy's Bar, she'd actually been in a hotel room with Cambria's boyfriend. The caption was simple. Shelley Morrison supporting her friend Cambria while sleeping with the man who destroyed Cambria's marriage. Some friends are more supportive than others. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Within minutes of posting the photos, the rally at Murphy's bar dissolved into chaos. According to Mrs. Voss, who stayed to watch the drama unfold, Cambria confronted Shelley in front of everyone. The screaming match was epic, she told me later. Cambria called Shelley every name in the book and Shelley just stood there crying. Then Zane showed up, apparently someone called him, and Cambria went after him too. The three-way confrontation spilled into the parking lot, where multiple witnesses recorded everything on their phones. By Saturday morning, the videos were everywhere, showing Cambria's abuse victim persona crumbling as she screamed profanities at her cheating boyfriend and backstabbing friend. The narrative had completely flipped. Instead of a brave survivor speaking out against abuse, Cambria looked like an unstable woman who'd been played by the two people she trusted most. But I wasn't done yet. Sunday evening, I sent a group text to Cambria, Zane, and Tess. Dinner at my house tomorrow night, 7 p.m. We're going to settle this once and for all. Cambria responded immediately. I'm not coming anywhere near you. Zane's reply was more aggressive. You're out of your mind if you think we're playing your games. Tess was supportive. I'll be there. This should be fun. I sent a follow-up message. Cambria, you'll want to be here. I have information about your finances that you'll find very interesting. Zane, I have information about your business that your remaining investors would find fascinating. Come or don't, but the information goes public either way. That got their attention. Both of them called within minutes, but I didn't answer. Let them wonder what I knew and what I planned to do with it. Monday at 7 p.m., all three of them showed up at my house. Cambria looked exhausted, her usual polished appearance replaced by rumpled clothes and dark circles under her eyes. Zane appeared nervous, constantly checking his phone. Tess seemed to be enjoying herself. I'd set up the dining room table with 4 chairs and a laptop computer. The blinds were open, giving our neighbors a clear view of the proceedings, and me a guarantee that nothing would get too out of hand. Sit down, I said when they entered. We have a lot to discuss. Cambria remained standing. I want to know what you think you have on me. Bank records, I said simply. Specifically, the joint savings account you've been emptying for the past 3 months. $28,000 transferred to your personal account without my knowledge or consent. Her face went white. That's my money too. Actually, it's not. The account was funded entirely by my business earnings. You contributed nothing to it. I opened the laptop and turned the screen toward them. I also have records of you applying for credit cards in my name. That's identity theft, Cambria. A felony. Zane shifted uncomfortably. What do you want from us? Honesty, for once. I clicked to the next screen. Zane, your startup is bankrupt. You've been lying to investors, using fake revenue reports and inflated user numbers. I have copies of your real financial statements. How did you get those? He demanded. Tess smiled. I gave them to him. Amazing what people leave lying around during divorce proceedings. You're both facing serious legal consequences, I continued. Cambria for theft and fraud, Zane for securities violations. Unless, of course, we can reach an understanding. Cambria finally sat down. What kind of understanding? A divorce settlement that reflects reality. You get nothing from me, no alimony, no property, no shared assets. In exchange, I don't press charges for the money you stole or report your credit card fraud. And me? Zane asked. You disappear. Leave Gatefield, start over somewhere else, and never contact my ex-wife again. Do that, and your business problems stay between you and your investors. This is extortion, Cambria protested. This is justice, I corrected. You both thought you could play games with other people's lives. Now you're learning that actions have consequences. Tess leaned back in her chair. I have to say, this is better than anything on Netflix. Shut up, Tess, Zane snapped. This is your fault for helping him. My fault? Tess laughed. I'm not the one who cheated on 2 different women in the same month. That's all you, darling. The truth hit Cambria like a physical blow. 2 different women? You mean Shelley wasn't the first? There was a bartender at the Riverside Hotel, Tess said helpfully. Very young, very impressed by his fake success story. Cambria turned on Zane with fury I'd never seen before. You lying piece of garbage. I threw away my marriage for you. Nobody forced you to cheat, Zane shot back. You made that choice because you wanted more than what he could give you. He gestured dismissively at me. What I could give you? I stood up slowly. I gave you 6 years of loyalty, a home, financial stability, and unconditional support for your career. What did he give you? Lies, debt, and public humiliation. The room fell silent, except for Cambria's quiet crying. The fight had gone out of all of them, leaving only the wreckage of their choices. Sign the divorce papers, I said, sliding a folder across the table. Both of you disappear from my life. Consider yourselves lucky that I'm letting you walk away instead of pressing charges. Cambria picked up the pen with shaking hands and signed her name. Zane was already heading for the door. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is, I replied. You just don't know it yet. 3 months later, I was back in my garage working on the Mustang when Mrs. Voss stopped by with neighborhood gossip. Did you hear about your ex-wife? She asked, settling into the folding chair I kept for customer conversations. Not particularly interested, I said, but I was lying. She moved back in with her parents in Phoenix, lost her job, of course, after all that business came out. And that Zane character? Heard he's waiting tables in Seattle while his creditors chase him? I nodded and kept working on the engine. The Mustang was nearly finished, a complete restoration that had taken months of patient, careful work. Unlike marriages, cars could actually be fixed if you understood what was broken and had the skill to repair it. You know, Mrs. Voss continued, people are saying you went too far. That public humiliation was cruel. I looked up from the engine. Mrs. Voss, they made their choices in public. I just made sure everyone could see the consequences. Still, some folks can think whatever they want, I interrupted. I sleep fine at night knowing I told the truth while they were telling lies. She nodded approvingly. Fair enough. By the way, that detective friend of yours stopped by earlier. Willis said he had a car that needed work. Detective Willis had been a customer for years, and his opinion mattered to me. If he was still bringing me business, it meant the local law enforcement didn't consider me a problem. After Mrs. Voss left, I stepped back and admired the Mustang. The restoration was complete, every part cleaned, repaired, or replaced. The car looked better than it had in decades, ready for another lifetime of reliable service. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You destroyed my life for no reason. I hope you're happy. I deleted it without responding. Cambria still didn't understand that I hadn't destroyed anything. I'd simply revealed what was already broken. The garage door chimed as another customer entered. A young woman with kind eyes and grease-stained coveralls, probably from one of the other shops in the district. Are you Jace Arnell? She asked. That's me. I'm Lisa Chen from Chen's Body Shop down the street. I've got a classic Camaro that needs engine work, and everyone says you're the best in town. I wiped my hands on a shop rag and smiled. Let's take a look at what you've got. As we walked toward her car, I realized that for the first time in months, I was looking forward instead of backward. The Mustang was finished, my divorce was final, and my reputation, despite everything, remained intact among the people who mattered. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. Sometimes it's simply building a better life than the people who tried to tear you down. The engine of Lisa's Camaro had potential. With the right care and attention, it could run like new again. I was good at fixing broken things.